Hello and welcome to round 13 of Grand Prix Las Vegas. We're going to check in on the match between Chris Fennell and Lucas Duco. Now, if you watch a lot of Stream Magic, you may recognize Lucas Duco's name. He was playing in the Magic Online Championships in Seattle 2 weeks ago, and he was actually Owen Turtenwald's pick to win that event because this is an old-school Wisconsin player that Owen credits as the guy who taught him how to be good at Magic.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no, great angle, right? Chris Fennell, meanwhile, one of the best limited players in the world, had a nice undefeated run, 2-1 in his first draft pod, leads with a Celestia Guildmage. Duco has the Apparition. Now, Fennell's deck is green-black. He's got the kind of tokens and ways to abuse them, Bloodthorn Vampire, Bone Splitters. He's got a bunch of Dread Drones, Puppeteer Clique, Scavenger, 2 Drooling Grudions. He's actually playing 2 of the 3 Drooling Grudions that he drafted.
Yep, I saw him play with one of those cards earlier, and I think he likes that card more than most. He saw something interesting just now, the Grim Affliction taking out the Apparition despite the fact that it has Persist. Because of the way Persist works.
If you've got a -1/-1 counter, you're not coming back.
Come back, and Grim Affliction puts -1/-1 counters on the creature, so Fennell identifying that. Getting the 1-for-1 there on a creature that usually will produce a 2-for-1.
Now, Lucas's deck is pretty cool. It's blue-black, which, of the 10 2-color combinations, this is the one that everybody seems to kind of turn their nose up at.
Yeah.
It's not nearly as, linear. There isn't as much synergy. It's just like value, value, value. But you know what? If people are going to ignore your color combination completely, you can get, for example, 3 Dimir Guildmages, like Lucas Duco has done. 2 different copies of Endrixar Master Breeder in this deck. 2 Air Servants, 2 Repeals, Instill Infection, Nameless Inversion, etc., etc. It's it's a value deck. That's what blue-black does. But, I mean, when your value starts with 3 Dimir Guildmages, that can get you somewhere.
You see here the value beginning. Lucas Duco has put an Instill Infection on the Celestia Guildmage, -1 as a counter. The next turn, he plays a Tezzeret's Gambit and proliferates. So, without using any cards, he played 2 cards that both drew him 1 or 2 cards, and he got rid of a very important creature, Celestia Guildmage.
Not bad.
Fennell tapping the Guildmage to cast a Scatter the Seeds. Lucas follows up with one of those. Did you say 3 Dimir Guildmages?
Yes, I did.
3 Dimir Guildmages. So Fennell now has to worry about having his hand pressured by the Guildmage's discard ability.
Said Fennell can just put most of his hand on the table.
Certainly can, although he does have 2 cards left.
Interestingly, Chris is actually, you see the mountain there? He does have a very light red splash, and if you could pick one card in the world to splash red for,
I would pick a Savage Twister.
Well, that's what Chris is doing.
No surprise there. So, interesting. Lucas says, discard, please. Fennell does have to discard. He discards Ulamog's Crusher.
Wow.
He's not going to be able to cast it for 2 more turns. He can't hold a land in his hand to protect it, because then he'll just have to discard the lands.
And then Nameless Inversion takes that Aqua Transpider. Now here's that Drooling Grudion.
Pretty powerful here with the ability to sacrifice Saplings to give -2/-2 to a creature, +2/+2 to another creature.
Yeah, that's a great point. That Drooling Grudion
turn.
I don't know if that was the card he was defending when he discarded the Crusher, or if he just drew it, but
he
he's pretty good on this board.
I think he may have had that one in mind from the beginning. So
now Lucas wishes to draw. Got to find an answer to Grudion.
He doesn't.
It's another 2/2.
Really the opposite of what you want to do with the Grudion.
Yeah.
Fennell
Yeah,
says,
turn them all
let's
sideways.
Go.
Grudion's ability gives somebody -2/-2 and somebody else +2/+2. So
whichever one you block, that one's going to get +2/+2, and I'll just pick off the other one with the -2 ability. Lucas basically in a chump blocking situation here. He says, all right, I'll take the damage. Fennell says, great. I'll make sure you take lots of damage. There it is. Fennell here thinking, do I want to limit your mana, or do I want to get rid of this Guildmage? He says, you can keep the Guildmage. And the reason he's doing that, he doesn't have any cards left in hand. And if all Lucas is going to do is pay 4 mana to draw a card with the Guildmage, Chris Fennell is in such good position with those creatures. The Guildmage basically doesn't have abilities this turn. Lucas needs to affect the board.
Chris's deck looking really good here.
Yeah. So Grim Affliction. And we're going to see another Grim Affliction and a Proliferate. Now yeah.
Sign of the Wild
Sign of
isn't
the Wild,
actually dead yet,
right.
right? It's a 3/3 creature with 2/1/1 counters on it.
Right. So Chris in a position he can't really attack now. If he loses the Sapling, he'll also lose the Scion.
Wow, that Drooling Grudion was stitching Chris's entire game plan together.
It certainly was.
Lucas comes up with
2 Grim Afflictions. How many does he have? He's played 3 this game.
I don't think he's played 3.
Oh, right. We saw
It's only
one
2 on his
played
deck
against
list.
him at the beginning of this game.
Yeah, Chris has one.
Chris has one.
Man, without that Grulion, Chris's board is super precariously balanced.
Yeah, it is. You see.
Oh,
wow.
bounce the Saproling. That kills the Scion.
Yep.
Now the Guild Mage can attack. There's only a 1/1 on defense.
Chris looked so strong for a moment, but Lucas able to turn this game very quickly. And Chris basically looking for something off the top that can answer Lucas's board with a 4/4 and a 2/2. Chris has nothing but land.
Wow. Make you discard a card, and I still have enough mana so that I can draw one. But spend my 5 mana on an Air Servant instead.
Yeah.
The value train is in high gear.
You know what card would be great right here?
What's that?
Primarch's not bad, but
What,
a
Savage
Savage Twister. Yep. So now Luke's going to untap and probably use the draw ability on Dimir Guild Mage, and suddenly Savage Twister won't look quite as good. Although certainly he'd be happy to draw it now. Draw. And he's going to try to close this game out. Now, it's interesting, though, that Primarch is a big problem. Lucas can chump block it with a Guild Mage and still have a Guild Mage around. Obviously, redundant
Savage
Guild
Twister's
Mages
still great.
not very useful. Oh,
I mean, if Duco thought about the card Savage Twister as what Chris might be splashing, maybe he wouldn't. I mean, I guess, yeah, okay. He wants to get a jump block in.
Right. So Chris at 8, Lucas with a 4-power flyer. Chris still, even after that very scary Primarch, he needs another big draw here to get back in the game. Bloodthorn Vampire, not looking too good with all the saplings in the graveyard or removed from the game.
So much value. How many cards has Lucas drawn off the Dimir Guild Mage? 5, 6?
He's drawn at least 4. He did make Chris discard 2 as well. So, yeah, Chris forced to block here.
The Air Servant takes half his life total. Oh,
Wow.
jeez. Lucas puts it all on the board, so the top deck Savage Twister is still insane. 1 draw phase. Pretty sure Savage Twister would have happened faster than that. Looks like
And
those
that-
Air Servants are going to get it done.
Unless he's picking a number. Yeah, he's going to pick him up.
Yeah. So game 1 goes to Lucas Duco.
Yeah, and
Blue black.
showing the value of the value deck.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Back table, we've got Ben Stark. We got to watch Ben draft, and he's playing against Cash Turner. Cash is actually, so he got that name because his dad is apparently a famous, or was a famous pool player.
Interesting.
Yeah. Now, his dad did die of cancer last fall, but last thing he said to his son, "You'll win one, son. I can feel it."
Wow. So here he is and looking very alive in this tournament.
He won his buys for this tournament in a trial. And yeah, he's here because of his father.
Oh, it's a great story. Well, and here he's got a very powerful creature in play, the Ulamog's Crusher, being blinded by a Soul Eater. The little Soul Eater that could, and having a big impact all weekend. And here you see the incredible power of Algae Gariel, that little 1/1 Shroud creature that just sticks around and as creatures die, grows and grows and grows. It's a 6/6 hexproof right now. A Shroud, rather. So, a Juggernaut that's very difficult to deal with.
Jeez.
We saw Ben draft this deck, and it looked very good. He sort of jumped in the tokens train early and got a lot of good cards. The Conclave Phalanx, so hard to race against.
Algae Gariel, kind of hard to deal with.
Yeah, very hard to deal with. You got to get enough big creatures out to block it.
Those are flyers from the Spectral Procession as well.
Spectral Procession flyers coming in. Cash looking like he's really on his heels this game. And he's going to block.
Yeah, block.
Root can ally the really big dangerous creatures.
And presumably, I mean, it's a chump from the Rusaka, so he's going to be using its ability on something. Then taps 2 for Rootkin Ally.
It's being blocked by a 3/3, so...
Yeah, now the Predator is going to die anyway. He may as well use it to pick off a Spirit token.
Right, and he'll do the same with the Plague Rusalka.
Bad news is this all
The
pumps
Gariel
up the
gets
Gariel,
bigger
but
and bigger.
Hey, do what you got to do. I don't know that Ulamog's Crusher has enough time to annihilate Ben's board position.
No, another strength of having those little extra tokens around. A hit from Ulamog's Crusher just isn't quite as impactful.
Yep.
Ben looking pretty dominant here.
Oh, he's got a Blinding Soul Eater anyway, so it doesn't even get to attack.
Right.
Looking pretty good for Ben Stark. I do like this Cash Turner story, though. He had described his father, the pool player,
Yeah.
as a literal planeswalker. He would walk from state to state, gaining stories and adventures. Question, now Cash has a house, doesn't really travel, but can I be a planeswalker too? He said.
In his own way.
He has 6 more rounds to find the answer. I like how he tells the story with 6 rounds to go. It's not 3 rounds to go for the top 8.
Right.
6 rounds to go to win the tournament.
That's the attitude to have.
That all is dust?
So,
Wow.
Cash had an answer for this board.
Holy
all
smokes.
is dust. And
What just happened? I mean,
Ben's
the Soul Eater
incredible
gets to
dominating
keep
board.
topping down the Crusher, but
wow, so
Unbelievable.
So now we're at parity here. Other than
Right, does
Ben Stark
Cash have
having
a
33
follow-up?
life. Cash has a lot of cards in his hand, and suddenly it looks like Cash is going to run away with this game.
yeah, Ben was all in. I mean, he kind of had to be.
That's his deck.
And Queen.
Queen
Cash Turner.
and a Dagger Clamp.
Is he going to come back and win this?
Really looks like he is. Ben
Sure,
just has last
raise
card
the
in his hand
alarm,
is to
but
raise the alarm.
Whatever.
Ben is going to need some really high impact card to catch up here, and I don't think he has it. Cash Turner, he's going to close this out.
Ant Queen is making, what, 3-4 ants a turn?
If he decides to use it, he can also...
He can fly
Play more
over.
cards
He
out
can
of his
attack
hand.
with a 5/5.
Yeah. Ben at 33 life, but I kind of feel like
That all in
Cash has
dust
this
is
wrapped up.
insane.
all his dust.
Whoa. All his dust, yeah.
Ben checking. Did this Spectral Possession make white creatures? Because it would be great to have those spirits back. All his dust, one of the few cards that can deal with an Algae Gariel.
Kavu Primarch, better than 4 ants.
Ben got
He
into
felt
good
so
attacks
good with
there.
that Algae Gariel.
Yeah.
Like, how is your opponent supposed to deal with an 8/8 Algae Gariel?
And Cash's sort of chump blocks on that last turn with his Algae Gariel growing looked like an act of desperation. No,
I
he's
agree.
trying to-
That's
trying
what
to
I thought
preserve
was
his life
going
total.
on.
He had that all his dust. He knew what was happening. Yeah, this is just mopping up at this point.
Yeah. No, all right, let's go back to our main match. Looks like Cash Turner's got this one pretty well under control.
Yeah.
We'll definitely let you know if something changes, but meanwhile, Chris Fennell and Lucas Duco are a couple turns in. Lucas has an Endrixar,
Ooh.
but Chris is the aggressor. He's got an Algae Gariel of his own. It saw an Aquastrand Spider die. It saw something, I'm going to guess, a couple things have died.
Yep.
No, there's the Air Servant. That was how Lucas won the last game, flying over all of
Well,
Chris's mess of ground creatures.
and with Endrixar now he has a mess of ground creatures of his own to play defense.
5 thralls.
5 thralls.
And Algae Gariel's never getting through. I mean, there's already enough to get 4 attacks in with the Air Servant.
Exactly. Although,
Oh, but the L2 Gariel's +1/+1 counters mean the Aquastring Spider can actually give it reach.
right. So
Gariel on defense could be quite good here.
it could. Unfortunately, as good as it is as a Shroud creature with
Oh,
reach.
you can't give it reach. It's not hexproof. It's Shroud.
Yeah, it's Shroud, so he can't target it. And even if he could, the Spider would still be vulnerable to removal.
Yeah, I was going to think, my first instinct was, I mean, sure, Lucas is going to be able to kill a 1/1 Spider, but it doesn't actually matter. Gariel's not going to gain reach. Shroud, not nearly as good as hexproof.
Here comes, looks like a big Rootkin ally. Get pumped by all those tokens. Probably just going to soak up a throw. You know, Lucas can lose his throws one at a time.
Yep.
He's thinking about, do I block with more than one creature and force you to tap, trade off my throws?
Yeah, it doesn't actually turn a profit that way.
Hendrik Star is such an interesting card. You'll see, you never want to get up to 7 Thralls, right? Because then Hendrik Star gets eaten by them and dies. So Lucas wanting to actually trade down Thralls so he can play another creature and get back up to as many as 6 Thralls. Great value card for a value deck.
And down goes the Spider.
There's the Grim Affliction. You have to think that probably Lucas did not realize that Shroud effect. It looks like he was trying to get rid of that Spider quickly so he could get in with this flyer.
I don't even want to let Chris jump block, I don't think.
Oh, that's the perfect mana cost. Right there, he gets right up to 6
2
Thralls.
drop, 6 Thralls with the Hendrik Star.
And he's got a good amount of mana in play, and he's got his Dimir Guildmage. Chris having a lot of angles he has to fight right now. He has to deal with Hendrik Star with its infinite chump blockers, near infinite Dimir Guildmage pecking away at his hand and drawing cards, and an Air Servant attacking in the air.
Only 3 angles, all of which he's losing on. He drew a Drooling Grudion, which can clean up some of that given enough time.
Grudion, as we've seen, can be really effective if it survives. He does have those spawn tokens. He could potentially play the Grudion and activate it in the same turn if he can get just a few more mana. But Fennel really needs right here, just like last game, is a Savage Twister.
Doesn't have the red mana yet.
Right. So the Gariel hanging back, this is interesting from Fennel. You know, Gariel's so hard to deal with in any other way than blocking. You often don't want to let your opponent have a chance to actually trade with it in combat. So even if it takes out, if someone can trade 2 or 3 creatures just to block and kill it, they feel good about that because they had no other way to deal with that Gariel.
Fennel's in trouble.
Fennel is in trouble.
He's down a game. Lucas certainly ahead in this one. Now, the good news for Chris Fennel and Chris Fennel fans is that he's not eliminated from top 8 contention with a loss here, but he will lose control of his own destiny. With a second loss, he's going to be angling to get into a tiebreaker scrum where, I don't know, 3 or 4 players are going to get in from a tie that has like 10 to 15 people in it. It's probably worse than a coin flip.
Yeah. Well, you know, and I wouldn't count Fennel out of this game at all right now. You know, he's behind, but he has a few turns here to put together a plan. And, ooh, Air Servant's going to change that clock just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that plan needs to be top deck red mana, top deck Savage Twister. And he's Lucas Duco. He's like, Hendrik Star has done enough. I'm summoning a second Air Servant. He does get the 5 Thralls from the second Air Servant, so I believe he's at 11 Thralls now.
Yeah.
Hendrik Star died, but okay. He made 12 Thralls.
Yep.
Not bad for 4 and a black.
And so those Thralls gumming up the ground and potentially offering, you know, an Alpha Strike that could take a few more life off Chris Fennel.
Fennel's the one trying to play a token strategy, but kind of only got 6 creatures in play.
And Hendrik Star saying, you want to see tokens? I've got the tokens, buddy. I know how it's done. It's dangerous.
Here's Scatter.
It's Scatter. 3, that's great. 3 1/1s, but it's just got
Well, it means he's not
outclassed.
going to die next turn. I mean, I think Chris did succeed in buying himself 2 draw phases rather than 1, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think Lucas can Alpha Strike with the Thralls and get through enough. He's not going to get 4 on top of those 2 air servants.
11, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He can, yeah, if he draws his spawn tokens, jump block then. Well, if he attacks with the Demir Guild Mage, it's pretty close. The count is very close. However, I suspect Fennel with the ability to activate the Grudian can make the math change to his own advantage. Buying a turn, though, not particularly helpful if he can't start dealing with his air servants.
Did he draw either Savage Twister or Mountain? Because that's the combo he needs.
That is the combo he needs.
Is he playing all his dust?
If he can get 2 activations of Grudian, that'll take out 1 air servant. So Grudian costs, what is it, 4 to activate? He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's got exactly
with
8.
The spawns, can he actually activate it?
He can, yeah. He's got 6 mana there because that's a Simic Growth Chamber. Plus 2 for the spawns is 8. You see Lucas will line up some chump blocks.
What exactly is the Grudion's activation?
Green, black, and 2.
Green, black, and 2?
Yeah. Rashad, can we get Drilling Grudion up on the screen? There it is.
Yeah, if he sacks 2 spawn, can activate it twice.
Very high impact card right there. If you have creatures to throw away, you get a lot for them. You get to kill something, you get to grow something else. You can grow the Drooling Grudion itself. And you can do it as an instant, so if Fennel passes the turn, you can throw that air servant whenever he wants. Clever because Duca does try to attack with those thralls, those spawn tokens that are going to have to be sacrificed, and whatever creature is being sacrificed to the Grudions can also block.
Yeah, Lucas just attacked with the 2 flyers. Fennel actually stabilizes on this board, right? I mean, Lucas has cards in hand. He also has a Dimir Guild Mage to draw more, but...
Not quite, because he only deals with 1 air servant here.
Oh, he can't deal with the second one without drawing 2 lands.
Right.
I was thinking he could kill 1 this turn and kill another, but having to sack the 2 spawn, he's actually 2 mana away from killing the second one.
Right. So, what creatures is he sacrificing here? Looks like a Saproling. I think that's what you'll see. He'll sacrifice 2 Saprolings.
Gario keeps growing. And sack the spawns for mana. Saproling to the Grudion. 1 air servant is down.
That Gario
is ginormous.
Counters.
It's 1 from the Saproling, 1 from the air servant.
14 Gario. So
But the other air servant connects. Chris down to 8. 2-turn clock.
this is 2 turns to find, well, really not that many. If he draws land and passes back and then another land, he doesn't even have that many creatures to sacrifice.
Guild Mage just drew, I think, a Death Mark?
Wow.
Down goes Drooling Grudion.
That is pretty good.
Yeah, Dimir Guild Mage into Death Mark.
Chris adding to the count with that Gario, which just cannot get through those thralls in anything like a reasonable time frame.
Yeah, 2-turn clock with the air servant. Chris has this draw phase and probably gets 1 more.
Ooh, he did
Scavenging
draw
Drake.
a flyer.
And if Scavenging Drake had been around last turn, it would be gigantic as well.
It would be gigantic, but Lucas Duca has an air servant. He can just tap that guy.
Fine.
One of the problems with air servant, what you need is a Scavenging Drake that has Shroud. He could just meld his 2 creatures together. Let's see Fennel looking for an angle here. How can I survive this game? How can I just buy myself a couple of turns?
He's also got to worry about the Alpha Strike now.
He really does.
He went through both his spawn tokens, a couple of his Saprolings.
And lost his Grudion to the Death Mark. I mean, he's down 5 creatures from last
There's
turn.
9 Thralls there, plus the 2/2s. There's 11 ground creatures for Lucas Duco. Plus the Air Servant. He only needs to get, I mean, an Alpha Strike is lethal here, barring shenanigans from Chris.
Right, and Duco probably comfortable to wait on an Alpha Strike, but if Fennell tries to use all his mana, tap out, then Duco can just add up the numbers and attack with everything.
So if Chris shipped here and you're Lucas, you would not Alpha Strike? What are you worried about?
Well,
Is there even a fog in the format?
there's not a card that's coming to my mind right now that would be a problem. I guess Scatter the Seeds potentially.
Okay.
And Chris Fennell saying, all right,
He taps
I
out.
dare you. And I think you're going to see Duco figure this out.
Yeah, the
because-
Alpha Strike just is lethal now, right?
Yeah, there's
1,
only
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
there's a repeal.
Repeal the Sapperling.
Why not?
Air Servant can tap the Scavenging Drake. Yeah, count. 1, 2,
This
3,
is-
4. You block.
It's nowhere near
Guild
close.
Mage Mirror, Thrall. I get through with like 6 Thralls. Oh, I'm going to Grim Affliction your Celestia
This-
Guild Mage anyway.
It's nowhere near. There's no chance.
All Lucas needs to do is right-click attack with all. And he finds it.
Yep.
Lucas Duco.
So Chris Fennell, his play there, he knows he can't stop Lucas from attacking. He has to hope that he doesn't see that play.
Yeah. No,
Build
I think
a better
agreed.
board and draw
Totally
out to
agreed.
the Air Servant.
Chris knew his only chance was to have his opponent make a mistake, so he just did the thing that would put him in the best position if his opponent did miss it. Chris now going to have to rattle off 2 wins and then cross his fingers on tiebreakers, but Owen Turtenwald's mentor, Lucas Duco, sitting in pretty good shape with 2 rounds to go. Meanwhile, back on the other table, we watched Ben Stark draft a pretty nice green-white tokens deck. Cash Turner, though.
We watched Cash Turner destroy a very, very good board of Ben Stark's with an All Is Dust.
Yes, we
to
did.
take that first game. So now Ben, aware of the All Is Dust, can formulate his plan a little bit. He's got actually some colorless cards in play right now. And he can probably just lean on that Ant Queen and try to dominate the game with that. Cash
Looks
out
like,
nothing.
Cash is also
Cash
down
is
to
at
2. So
so.
that is the death blow. Ben Stark forces a game 3. So we are going to get game 3 here between the Hall of Famer and the Pool Sharks kid.
Second generation Shark.
Second generation Shark. There you go. Yeah, he's from San Jose, is Cash Turner. Father was, it's described to me in the notes here as an infamous pool player.
Infamous.
Infamous. Yeah, has dedicated the tournament to his father and all the friends and family who've helped him get here.
So far putting on a pretty good show.
True. And again, these guys have the same record as Chris and Lucas, so the winner is probably playing a win-in next round.
Right.
Because you win next round, you get to draw the final one. The loser, not eliminated, but no longer controls their own destiny, would have to go win-win, cross your fingers. Still some other interesting stories going on here. I saw Luis Scott Vargas' deck. It looks awesome. It is just nutso good.
What did he draft?
It was green-white tokens, so he's got Scatter the Seeds times, I think it might have been 6.
That's crazy.
It was just not, yeah. Deck looked great. I mean, he had so many cheap Convoke and lots of creature spells that Kozilek's Predator was in the sideboard.
That sounds crazy to me.
A-
You know, a
and
creature
it-
that looks like it belongs in that token stack.
I walked up to a circle that had, Gabe Nassif was here,
Uh-huh.
just kind of thumbing through the deck.
Yeah.
Liz Picky, Gabe's wife was in that circle. A bunch of guys kind of gathered around, and they were like, it looks right. Predator, I guess this goes in the sideboard.
Yeah, that's wild. It's a sign of somebody who really knows what they want to do when they can identify. Sometimes the draft just goes so well, you lay it out, and there's a ton of cards, and you need to get down to 40.
Yeah.
So this is like building a constructed deck. Nobody plays Kozilek Predator and Modern constructed. So there must be some better cards out there than it. Do you have them? Do you have the deck that's good enough not to play Kozilek's Predator? Sometimes
Yeah,
you
you have
do.
to be really good at Magic to have that in the sideboard of your green deck.
You do, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we'll get to see Luis at some point in the next round or two. He's on 2 losses, so he needs to win the pod and then win the tiebreakers. Be fun to watch him try.
It would be fun. Yeah, he had a really, really rough match here on camera earlier today. Deck just didn't quite give him the answer when he needed it. Sort of stabilized a board and then drew lands when he needed a couple of spells.
Also be nice to check in on Aaron Lewis later as well. His deck looked pretty good when we watched him draft it.
It did. His deck looked tremendous. Aaron Lewis, our final remaining undefeated player.
12-0.
So we should actually have him on the...
He's not the king of the hill.
He's not the king of the hill.
He's not the king of the hill. The king of the hill randomly wound up in pod 2 this morning.
Oh, interesting.
So the current king of the hill is actually Alan Brightman, who has a loss, but won pod 2.
Huh. Right, he threw out of the draft, taking out somebody who
came in undefeated and then
right.
2-1 the draft.
Right.
Yeah, Alan was 8-1 yesterday, but then won pod 2. Josh Utter-Layton's still in contention here as well. Josh is on 2 losses, just like
right.
Luis.
Yep. Yeah, Josh.
Alex Tamblin this round.
We saw him lose on camera yesterday, but that was his only loss of the day. He lost against a deck that had 2 Savage Twisters in it.
I can see where that might happen.
It was a very, very good match. If you want to catch that one on the replays, definitely worth watching.
Cash Turner's green black deck here has 2 Ulamog's Crushers plus that All Is Dust. Apostle's Blessing, also a colorless card. No white mana for it. He's got a Drooling Croupion. Ant Queen, 3 Primarchs, 2 Predators, 2 Nest Invaders. That is the rise of the Eldrazi archetype on full display. 2 Nest Invaders, 2 Kozilek Predators into 2 Ulamog's Crushers.
Does he have any Dread Drones?
He has a Palaka Worm. He has a Rampant Growth. Does not have any Dread Drones.
Yeah, but that's certainly the cards you want when you're going to be trying to cast those Eldrazi, and the Eldrazi spell, All Is Dust.
Ben's green-white. We've watched him draft it. 3 Raise the Alarm, 2 Conclave Phoenix. Only the 1 Scatter.
He doesn't have a lot of cards that play around All Is Dust, though. That's a really, really good card against him. You see, Ben is... it looks like he's drawn his Overwhelm here. So maybe he can arrange a situation where Cash wants to wait on the All Is Dust a little bit, or maybe can't quite get the mana, and Ben can win out ahead of it. But he's going to need some more token cards to do that. Cash with the relevant card on the board first, and Nest Invaders. Ben makes a Mortar Pod. Do you think about killing that token here?
I mean, you think about it. I don't think I would have killed it either.
Yeah. It would have stopped the convoking of that Primarch. Interesting to see a spawn token used for convoke. You see someone tap it and use it to be pseudo mana. It feels like it should leave play, but that's why he's able to do that, is that Kavu Primarch has convoke.
2-2 Gnarled Pack, not the most exciting third turn for Ben.
Right, Ben with playing kind of one of his filler cards. His deck's full of great stuff, but he also has a few cards that aren't exactly on plan. I'm sure if he had another Raise the Alarm handy, he'd rather play that than a Gnarled Pack. Cash, though, missed his 3rd land drop. That might be the moment where I do think killing that spawn token becomes a lot more tempting.
That's a good point. Ben's probably planning to block and shoot here, which means Cash is kind of priced into casting a spell pre-combat if he has something to do with that mana.
Right. Ben also has the option of blocking the Gnarled Pack on the Primarch and using the Mortar Pod to finish off the big 3/3.
True.
If Cash is missing land drops, it's unlikely he's going to be able to summon anything else that size.
This goes for Aquastrain Sprider.
He is making plays with just 2 lands,
wow,
though.
Doesn't even want to attack in.
Oh, wow.
There's a reason to save your Mortar Pod. Algae Gariel is coming.
Certainly is.
Yeah, now Gnarled Pack is just like, block me, please.
Yep.
I'd rather you block and kill me.
Yeah. Suddenly, Algae Gharial would become a 4/4, which would dominate this board. Cash did find the card he needed. It was a swamp. Let's see what he can do now. He has the Grudy in his hand. Is that a Shrivel?
Really?
He might have a
That
Shrivel.
is such a good sideboard card against this token
It's
strategy.
great. And normally it would be a great card against that Gharial, but with Mortar Pod sitting in play, there's no way to get that Shrivel to stick. Ben Stark's certainly not going to miss his opportunity to fire off a Mortar Pod. And if you do Shrivel and he fires off his Mortar Pod, he can hit your 2 toughness creature, making that Shrivel kill it too. See Cash sifting through those options. It looks like does he have an Endrixar as well?
In his deck, he does, yeah.
Gets in his hand.
Eldrazi Spawn going to turn into Kozilek's Predator.
Yeah, and Algae Gharial picks up its first of what is likely to be many counters.
Cash lining up an attack.
Cash has such an impressive board for only having 3 mana and missed that 3rd land drop for a while. So, Ben
Just the Primarch.
is saying, I got you here. So Cash missing the math on the Algae Gharial. The Mortar Pod kills both the token that it was on by sacrificing it and the token it targets, putting 2 more counters on the Gharial, giving the Gharial 3 counters, which looks like 3. That trades with the Primarch, right? Well, no, the Gharial starts out as a 1/1, so it
That
eats
was
the
not a
Primarch,
very good attack.
and then picks up the 4th counter.
Not
Subtle.
gonna lie.
Yeah, it was
That
not a good attack.
Not a good attack.
No, Cash, looking at that and maybe didn't play with the original Algae Gharial set. It's kind of an interesting card. Ben knowing, hey, you're tapped out. I got you here. So big swing for Ben there. He gets to suck up one of Cash's creatures and make his Gharial suddenly really threatening. He can put that Carapace on there now and just start attacking.
You can't put the Carapace on the Gharial.
Oh,
Still
of
has
course.
Shroud.
Still has Shroud.
Not hexproof.
It's a confusing card for everyone.
Gnarled Pack can pick up a Carapace, though. Pack is a
Wow.
4/4.
So he says, all right, go ahead. You want to trade for this Gharial? Here's your moment. You got to think, though.
What is Ben up to? He's risking the 5/5. Cash should double block here, right?
He should.
Double block the 5/5 Gharial. I mean, Ben
Apostle's
must have a
Blessing
trick.
doesn't do anything because he can't target the Gharial. Dismember. Ben drafted a Dismember.
Oh, what a blowout that would be.
Yeah, and it just seems like impossible that could be the card here because
Ben even tapped all his green mana, so he's not bluffing any kind of giant growth.
right.
He can't have Vines here.
Right.
He didn't have to tap green, but he chose to.
Vines would. He still have to pay 2 green to get the 4 out of
Yeah,
the
sure.
Vines. He's almost. Yeah, let's see Cash thinking, are you nuts? Like last turn you showed me that I'm bad at math. Now I'm doubting. Am I still bad at math, or is this too obviously easy? But he gets blown out on basically every block here, unless he
But what does W
triple
represent?
blocks
Even the
the
triple
Gnarled
block.
Pack.
Well, sure. Look, if you're blocking, you have to block the Gharial. And it may be that Cash is far enough behind that he has to
here
try
it
this.
comes.
Is this really
This is a
Dismember on
blowout.
Predator?
Wow.
Oh, jeez.
So the Predator dies.
What?
The Gharial
Predator
grows,
dies. Gharial grows. Both of the 2/2s die.
soaks up
Gharial grows. Gharial grows.
and that
Oh, by the
board-
way, take 4.
that board that we were talking about that looked so good for Cash Turner. Suddenly turned
Where did
around.
it go?
That
He's
is
down to a
just
spawn token?
wild. So Cash basically now staring down an unkillable creature unless he can get
An
it to 7
unkillable
mana.
8/8 Shroud creature.
Yeah, and one of the cards in his hand is a Shrivel that is pretty useless. He's drawn a land that'll help him get closer to like an All Is Dust or something, but he needs to just play chump blockers and use that. I think his only plan now is to try to get to 7. Although he does have an Ant Queen in his hand, which could hold off the Gharial sort of indefinitely if he could if he had time to get it out. I don't think he does. The Evolving Wilds can't play it this turn. Otherwise, he could have cast it this turn. Wow. Dismember.
That was nuts. Ben set that up perfectly. Both players have an Ant Queen in this matchup.
Yeah. It was a 3-for-1. And a virtually lethal attack here for Ben Stark. He's getting in for
Just
4
12.
plus 8, 12. That is lethal. No, it's not quite lethal because he can't equip Mortar Pod to Algae Carriel. So if Cash takes it all, he's I don't think there's any way to come back from that. He does have the Endrick Star in his hand. Again, not quite enough time to get it online and like spit out tokens.
Ben's played this game so well.
Yeah, he has. Cash is going to be kicking himself for that attack. Having one more creature would change the math here and give him a better chance.
Yeah.
Look at that. Ben has sided in his one mountain and burst lightning. Just one more thing that would end this game easily. Wow. Wow. If Cashmate gets back into this game, I will be very, very impressed. He has some really powerful cards in his deck. He stumbled on mana. Made a go of it. Just couldn't keep up with the Gariel.
Yeah. Made a bad attack. Made a block that I think is totally defensible. There's not a lot of
Absolutely.
cards Ben can have there, and you can't just take Gariel. Like, here's a window where you have a chance to kill it. I don't know. I mean, it sure felt like Ben had something, even though we struggled to figure out what it was, and we watched him draft his deck.
Yeah, it took us a second to figure it out. And it's a hard card to think about when your opponent's showing you white and green mana.
Right.
You're thinking, Sunlance isn't an instant, is it?
Nope.
Nope, it's a sorcery. Okay, Cash in a really tight spot here. He can play, and Ant Queen says, I had this shrivel, but there was never a moment for it.
Ben Stark, ladies and gentlemen. 2-1 victory. 12-1. Ben Stark's playing a win and in next round.
He certainly is.
If he wins next round, now, to be fair, there's a chance he's on pod 1, right? So the problem with pod 1 is Aaron Lewis. So it's not going to be super clean. Like on pod 2, there will be exactly 2 players on 13-1. They will definitely get paired. On pod 1, though, Aaron Lewis means there could be a 3rd player in the mix. You could actually get paired down.
And he
So
can't get the draw.
Ben's
that he
winning
might
in.
want.
It kind of depends. Does he get the draw? It's not as clean. Pod 2 is actually the cleanest one. Here's our turbo match.
Ooh, some fun cards here. Haven't seen a lot of Swift Blades in the feature match area, but
True story, but
card I
Marcel
really like.
Dizon's got one. Alan Brightman is our king of the hill. He is on 11-1, so is Marcel.
you see that equipping that Boros Swift Blade, he's now got a 2/2 flying double striker. That's attacking for 4 in the air on turn 4. Oh, wow, and a Thunderblast.
Soul Eater taps the double striker.
The creatures both persist. The Blinding Soul Eater now kind of overworked. That Thunderblast is coming in with Trample now. Fire Slinger pecking away at his life. You have to think that Alan Brightman over there.
Second Soul Eater. Eventually, maybe sort this out.
Ooh, Otherworldly Journey on the Apparition that had a -1/-1 counter on it makes it a 3/3. Otherworldly Journey, a card I really like.
Marcel's from Vancouver.
Is that 3 Apparitions? That is crazy.
Yep.
All he's played this game is an Otherworldly Journey, 3 Apparitions, and 2 Soul Eaters, and he is starting to dominate this. Wow.
Brute Force finishes that game off for Marcel Dizon.
Yep. Marcel showed us a pretty powerful start there. Let's see as they go to
I like
sideboard.
the double strike deck. I know it's not well thought of, but I feel like nobody wants it. If you get that, you can have that lane all to yourself. There's very little worry about somebody else taking your cards, and you get a critical mass of double strikers and giant growths and equipment and things. That hits really hard.
Yesterday, LSV had a deck that he said he didn't like very much, and he almost went 9-0 with it.
Right.
And it was a double strike deck. I think the deck is a lot better than it looks in this format.
Yeah.
I think that's the truth of the matter.
Yeah.
Now we got a funny thing going on here with the soldier. They only found 1 soldier token, so that was a 2 on a token. That is just a token over there. It doesn't have a counter on it or anything.
2 double strikers for Marcel.
Dominable Archangel.
Yeah, 4/4 flyer for
Yeah.
Alan.
You can see him just chump blocking that Hobgoblin because he doesn't want any giant growth shenanigans.
Slaughtermaster is threatening a trade if he doesn't pump, right? Oh, Apostle's Blessing. Alan's going to pump just to keep his guy alive.
Yep. Makes
Now
him
the
use
double
mana.
strikers come through.
Yeah, no, that's a big hit.
Double striker dies.
Grim Affliction over
More
there takes
double
that mana flyer.
strikers.
A lot of
Archangel
double
keeps
strikers.
racing. Fireslinger steps in the way.
The Scuttling Death
Death's
steps
pretty
up.
good here. Block the Hobgoblin and then kill a Slaughtermaster, right?
Yep, that looks like what's going to happen. And
Marcel goes for
Fortify.
Fortify.
And it looked like Alan
One
made
guy got through Fortified, but that was not good enough.
not quite good enough.
So we are on to game 3.
Fortify really neat in the double strike deck.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Fortify is definitely one of the tricks you can get that's pretty good. You have to fight the Scatter the Seeds guy to get it. So it doesn't, it's kind of card. It's the one card that isn't necessarily going to always come back.
Mortar Pod looking really good against a board of all 1 toughness
Yeah.
creatures. And
Oh, jeez, raise the alarm into Border Pod.
yeah, and also Marcel both missing a color and not having a 3rd mana. Oh, there it is. You found him.
Hobgoblin comes down, but there's the Soul Eater to tap it. Fireslingers are doing some work, though.
Yep, Fireslingers get to start pecking away until some more tokens can come out. Jump on that Mortar Pod. Sunlance eats
Sunlance.
1. Can't target the Goblin, of course.
It is a white creature.
Now we have Blood Ogre.
Bloodthirst. 3/3 first striker. You get a 3/3 double striker, 3/3 first striker. Otherworldly Journey is going to undo the counter from the Blood Ogre, but
Puts one
Fire
back on, actually. So that's how
Yeah.
the journey works.
Scuttling Death kills the Fireslinger, gets in a chump block.
So Brightman looking kind of flooded here.
Yeah, Marcel definitely on the front foot. More Scuttling Deaths and a Plague Rusalka. But here's Thunderblust.
Thunderblast.
What do you tap?
Just a lot of dangerous creatures over there. Now trying to figure out,
Yeah, Alan trying to figure out how to line this block up.
buy himself some time. He does take out the Fireslinger.
Keeps playing those Haunted Apparitions.
Oh, and didn't even see what that was.
But Marcel Dizon is
Yep.
now our king of the hill, yeah?
Well,
Yep.
here we are.
Fun round.